All right. Okay. I think it's working now. Sorry about that. All right. So let's start over again. So thank you so much for bearing with me. This is Holly Chantal, and you are in the LOBoratory, which is our laboratory that we meet every Wednesday at 12 o'clock Eastern. And today we're going to be talking about your blog and why every coach needs to have a blog and how to get started if you don't already have one. So let's go ahead over to the presentation. I apologize if some of you heard of some of this already. We're just going to start all over because my sound was not working in the very beginning, and I don't know when it started working again. All right, so today's topic is why every coach needs to have a blog and how you can get started. Specifically, we're going to be talking about blogging, schmogging, who cares? So why is a blog important to your coaching business? I'm also going to attempt to read your mind and guess why you may not be blogging now. How to get your blog mojo going. So how to get started and get momentum, and how to get more mileage with your blog posts once you've already started blogging so that you get the most bang for your effort. So blogging is such a weird word. Originally, a blog was called a weblog, and then it got shortened down to blog, and it's been around for years. At first, it was people's way of keeping a diary online, kind of like how people are on Facebook now or other social media. But then it evolved into a really powerful marketing tool, just like social media has. And the truth is that every successful coach has a blog, no matter how they're marketing themselves. So even if they're doing video marketing, social media, podcasts, webinars, teleseminars, most coaches still have a blog because it is such a valuable tool for building long-term credibility, search engine juice, and for building a relationship with your prospects. So let's talk about some common blog misconceptions to really understand what this tool is and how it can really impact your coaching business. So there's a common misconception between the difference between an article and a blog. And I think that that's because initially a blog, like I said, was a journal. So it was a little bit more personal. It could just be short, sweet thoughts of the day versus a full-blown piece of content or explaining a strategy or delivering your knowledge on your website. So when most people think of a blog, or when the layman is thinking of a blog, they're thinking of as something short, sweet, and journaly. An article, on the other hand, sounds a lot more complicated in that it's straight content. It is has to be well structured, and you might find it in other places like an article database, magazines, offline and online, and in your email marketing. But the truth is that these two things can be one in the same. It is all in how you decide you want to treat your marketing. So if you want to keep your blog strictly personal, strictly just short ideas or short observations that you make throughout your day, then that's fine. And that is what your prospects will begin to expect. So you just set the right expectation and position it in a way that's going to be appealing. On the other hand, you can also post articles that are more useful to your audience in getting the result that they want. The benefit of doing that is that when you're writing about content that is interesting to your followers, then it's going to naturally lead them to begin trusting you more and being seen as an expert in your area. It's also going to add relevant keywords to your website so that they can start finding you in the search engines. So the search engine is paying attention to the content and what words you're using over and over again. So that's why if you're naturally writing about things that are interesting to your target audience, it's going to naturally be easier for them to find you. Another misconception is the frequency in which you need to write. If you are a professional full-time blogger and that's all you do, then yes, you could be writing daily, if not multiple times a day. However, for most coaches, that is not completely necessary. If this is your only marketing strategy, then you probably want to be blogging maybe twice a week just to be putting enough content out there to be dangerous. But for most of us, one blog post a week is enough. And as you start to build a following and as you start to build momentum and traction in your marketplace, you might even drop it down from there. At the Land of Brand, I think we write anywhere between 1 and 4 times a month. Usually I try to average at least 2 blog posts a month because we already have a lot of content on the blog. We already have established traffic, and we're also marketing ourselves in a lot of different ways. So you choose the frequency that fits your marketing plan and fits your amount of time. And last but not least, the purpose of your blog can often be a misconception. And this kind of goes back to what I was just saying before about, is a blog for personal opinions, observations, or is it for delivering content, or can it be for both? And another misconception might be that it's only for creating search engine juice, and that it's only to be posted on your website, and that you don't need to be using that content anywhere else. But that's just not true. There's so much more you can do with your blog posts than you may even realize. We're going to talk about a little bit of that today when we're talking about leveraging each post. We'll talk about what you can really be doing with what you're writing. So the truth is that your blog is the core of your content marketing. This is the genesis of the content that you're creating and putting out there. If you're blogging consistently, then it's going to keep your website smelling fresh for Google. So every time you submit a blog post or update a page on your site or add a page on your site, anytime your site is showing new content and is showing that you are actively maintaining it and being interesting to your audience, Google pays more attention to it. It's kind of like refreshing your browser. Google is refreshing your website every time you're adding new and fresh content. If, on the other hand, you're letting your website grow stagnant and you're not updating it, you're not adding any new content, then Google starts to ignore you, because the search engine really wants to present content to the people that are searching that is going to be relevant now, because news from a week ago is old news. So the more you're updating your site and keeping it fresh, the better you're going to rank in search engines. Your blog also positions you as a thought leader. If you're writing about topics that your audience is interested in and showing that you are an expert in that area, you're going to be seen as an expert and as a thought leader. And a common misconception, which I didn't mention before, is that you need to be writing about a lot of different things because you want to be seen as an expert in a lot of different areas. So you think you have to be writing about many topics. And the truth is that the more you write about the same topic and examining it in different angles or going really deep into an idea, the more of an expert you're going to be seen as. And we actually talk about how to do that in Blog Marketology, which is starting tomorrow. So your blog, the deeper you can go in a topic, the more you can about one subject, the more of an expert you're going to be seen as. It also allows you to test content. So if you have an idea and you want to see if it's interesting to your target audience, it will help you to organize that content by writing a blog post. Also, putting it out there and seeing what comments you get, what people are going to say about your idea, is a great way to test whether it's interesting, whether it's relevant, and whether it really makes sense to use in other ways. Sometimes, actually a lot of times, the LOBoratory calls are ways for me to organize my thoughts around a subject. So oftentimes I'll choose my topics a month in advance, and I might not know what I'm going to write about those topics until it comes to actually sitting down and writing the presentation. But it's something that I know that I'm interested in. I know I want to test as maybe an idea or a strategy that I might want to share in a different way. For example, this particular presentation I actually wrote 2 years ago when I was thinking about doing a blogging course. So a lot of the content that we're talking about is taken, 5, 6, 7 steps further in the Blog Marketology course, which happened to come out 2 years after I had actually done this presentation. So Your blog can be used to test content if you prefer to write things down first. I prefer to speak things first because it helps me get a little more organized without editing myself. So your marketing and your content marketing can be tools for kind of reframing your ideas and seeing how to best present your information. The other thing your blog post does, it feeds the rest of your marketing efforts. So kind of like what I was just talking about, you're testing content, and then that content could be used in courses. It could be fleshed out into just one course. It could also become videos. It could become teleseminars. It can become posts that you're posting on social media. All of these different things that you're going to use this blog post for are going to feed the rest of your marketing. So you're going to write it once, and then you're going to feed all of your marketing and use it over and over and over again to continually drive traffic to your site and continually establish yourself as an expert. So this all sounds great. However, I know that many of you are not blogging. And especially if you're on this call, you're probably interested in blogging, wondering why it's so great, why you should be doing it. Or maybe you know and you secretly feel guilty because you're not doing it. You're afraid to get started. So I'm going to look into my crystal ball and let's talk about a couple of reasons, common reasons, that I know many of you are not blogging. Because either I've experienced some of these myself or I've worked through them with some of my clients. So just so you know, if you have any of these fears, you are not alone. So the first one is you're afraid to get started and not be consistent. You're afraid that once you get started, so let's say I'm going to commit to writing once a week and you kind of fall off the wagon. It's kind of like starting a diet and you already are setting yourself up to failure because you think you're going to be dieting forever, or let me rephrase that. You know you're probably not going to be dieting forever. So therefore, it's very hard for you to stay committed because it's such a hurdle to overcome every single day that you're trying to force yourself to do this thing. So you don't ever start because you're afraid of when you're going to stop, or you're afraid of when you're not going to be able to keep up with it. And so you never actually do it in the first place. The second is you're not sure what you should be writing about. So you're not sure what topics are going to be interesting. You're afraid of running out of topics. You're afraid that maybe you're not as much of an expert as you would hope. You're afraid that people are not going to take you as seriously because maybe you're not writing about enough different strategies, those kinds of things. Another reason is technology is scary. The actual technological side of blogging is just something you're not ready to really take on right now. And last but not least, you just plain old don't know where to start. That is the number one symptom or actually the number one result of overwhelm, is that you don't know where to start. So you know you need to be blogging. You know there's all these things you should be doing in your business, but the idea of getting started is scary because you're not sure what comes first. So these are all very common fears. I've heard them over and over again. I have experienced almost all of these when I first started my business. So just know that you're not alone. And let's put things into perspective. So first of all, you can't put the cart before the horse. You're setting yourself up for failure if you are not starting because you're afraid you're not going to be consistent. Because the truth is, you're never going to be consistent if you never get started. And to be honest, inconsistent is better than nothing at all. So even if you write for a full month and then stop writing, at least you have a few blog posts up there for people to see when they come to your site. And some of you might be thinking, but then my site's going to look out of date because of the dates on the blog posts. There are ways to remove the dates from the blog posts on your blog so that no one knows when you wrote them. I think the Lana brand is set up that way, so that you don't actually see the date that the blog posts were written. So they don't know if it was written 3 months ago or if it was written yesterday. So there are ways that you can overcome those limiting beliefs. The truth of the matter is you just need to get started. You just need to start writing, start putting your words on paper, and it becomes easier. The more you write, the easier it's going to be to remain consistent. You'll have zillions of topics once you start writing them down. So we're going to do a very short exercise to help you start brainstorming topics. And you'll find that once you start writing them down and you start seeing all the different angles that you can take on your topics, you'll have zillions of topics. In the blog marketology course, I show you how to turn 10 topics into 100. And then you take those 100 topics and turn them into 500 blog post titles. And that sounds like a lot, but I will tell you it is surprisingly easy. And not only that, but when you do it, you start to realize, one, that you are an expert, and two, you start seeing the potential of courses you could write, teleseminars you could write, all these different ways that you could be putting that knowledge to use in your business. It's almost like you don't actually realize how much you know until you start writing it down. And it's just a matter of putting the structure around that to help you get all of those ideas and all of those topics out of your head and onto the page. And last but not least, blogging software is super easy. So WordPress is so easy to use. That's what I recommend. That's what I build all of our websites in. So every client site you see has been built in WordPress. And you can get a free WordPress account if you just want to start blogging and start kind of, again, testing your ideas, figuring out how to write, getting consistent before you invest in actually creating a real website. And if you're still afraid, then hire an assistant. It will cost you just a couple dollars. You could find someone on Fiverr, $5 to post your blog post. You type it up, you send it to them, and they post it. So it is not as expensive as you might think. And if that is what is keeping you from marketing yourself, then just hire someone, because it is going to cost you way more money to not be marketing yourself, because you're not going to be getting the clients to be able to support your business. So reclaiming your mojo. So let's say you are ready to commit. You want to start blogging. How do you get started? So how do you get that motivation, that mojo, that pizzazz to really take this by the horns and get going? So creating a plan goes a long way. With any project I'm starting with someone, we always create a plan. What does this project look like? What are the deliverables? And then how are we going to make that happen? So what I find is easiest to start with is brainstorming topics. So what can you possibly write about? And you just brainstorm tons of topics. Like I think it's the next slide, we're going to be brainstorming probably like 20-something topics, which again can be turned into probably hundreds of topics when you start looking at the different angles. And I'll tell you a little bit about how to do that. Then you're going to break out your calendar. And the calendar is twofold. The calendar is for you to decide what you're going to write when, so creating an editorial calendar of what topics you want to cover each week, and then also scheduling time to write. So you can do that on your calendar. You could do that on, if you have like a day-to-day schedule, just schedule the time to write. And for me, what works is I need a few days to think about a topic before I write, typically. Or sometimes it takes, for me, sometimes it's just deciding on the topic. That's the hurdle. Once I start thinking about a topic, it's very easy to write. So it's going to vary depending on your personality and your style. But the bottom line is figure out what's going to work for you and then write. So for me, I try to pick my topic on Wednesday or Thursday, and then I think on that topic, and then I sit down on the weekend, and it takes me maximum about 40 minutes to actually write it. When you're starting out, it may take you longer than that. Obviously, I've been blogging for a few years now. I think I started probably 5 or 6 years ago now. So content comes easily now because I've been doing it for so long, and it will become easy for you. If you're a natural writer, then you already have a leg up, and it won't be difficult for you to get started. And how will you find the time? The truth of the matter is you can't afford not to. You have to be marketing your business if you want to get clients. So if you happen to have too many clients, then that's a good problem to have. But keeping those clients coming in consistently is still going to require marketing. So either you hire someone to write articles for you, though I do typically recommend that you write them yourself because it has your unique flair and your voice. But, if you really can't do it, then hire someone to do it. But the truth of the matter is you need to make time to be marketing yourself, and blogging is probably one of the least time consuming and it has a long-standing effect. So it's definitely worth putting an effort into. So let's go ahead and brainstorm some topics. All right, so you can write all of these down if you would like. And let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 topic types here. And then we're going to be brainstorming 3 each. So you will have 18 topics right here. So 3 questions that clients have asked you recently. This could also be prospects if you don't have clients, or it could be questions that you see on Facebook or you see on forums where your target audience is hanging out. So these are questions about your topic that people see, such as, how do you market yourself with a blog? How do you write a blog post? Where should I post my blog post? How frequently should I be writing my blog posts? What do I put into my blog posts? Should I be writing my blog post in first person or third person? There are so many questions about your topic that you could probably list right off the top of your head, and I'm sure that you will get much more than 3. The second one is 3 pieces of your coaching philosophy. So this has to do with your message and how you do your work. So my coaching philosophy might encompass that I believe that your brand is a reflection of your personality. So I might write, one of my topics might be why you must express your personality in your brand, or how to identify your personality traits. Another piece of my philosophy might be that you need to plan before you execute. So why you need to plan before you execute. Mistakes people make when they're planning their website project, or other pieces of your philosophy and how you work with your clients can all become blog posts. And what you're doing here is, again, you're writing something interesting to your target audience because it has to do with your topic, and you're also introducing your philosophy and your message so that they can see if they resonate with it. When people resonate with your philosophy and how you do what you do, they're going to be more likely to hire you over someone else. Another one is 3 tools that your clients would find helpful. So for me, I often share tech tools. So this past week, I wrote an article about how to automate your appointment booking. And I talked a little bit about time trade, but you could also use another kind of tool. But that was a tool that my clients would find helpful, and it was a very popular blog post. Other tools could be more of like coaching tools, like emotional intelligence or the Myers-Briggs assessment. So they can be tech tools, they can be physical tools. So if you are, I know in our last blog marketology course, we had a painter. So tools might have to do with what kind of brushes to use or what kind of paint to buy for different projects. So just think about that in your particular realm of expertise. What tools would be useful for your clients? You could even do just reviews. And again, I'm sure you can come up with at least 10 of these. 3 books that you've read that would be relevant to your target audience. So again, book reviews, or just taking an idea from a book and sharing it. I wrote a blog post a while back based on the Entrepreneur Equation by Carol Roth. And I don't think it was a book review, but it was just examining one idea that she presented about whether or not you should even be in business and how I felt that related to coaches. So usually business owners, they read a lot. So this is another easy way to get some blog post ideas. 3 mistakes you've made and what you've learned. So this is good to show how you relate to your audience and how you're human. You don't always have to be the ultimate expert that has no flaws and is completely perfect. In fact, the more human you are, the more relatable you are to your audience, the more they're going to like you. So think about mistakes you've made in your area of expertise. So for me, it could be, mistakes I've made with website design, or mistakes I've made in sales conversations or acquiring clients or messaging or anything like that, scheduling, anything that has to do with your business could be a blog post and a lesson for your prospects. Last but not least, 3 topics from other blogs that you found helpful. So if you read other blogs or newsletters, you could do a review or examine one idea they've shared, same as the book idea. But the difference here is that because you're referencing another blog, you actually can now have an excuse to reach out to that person and share with them what you wrote. So this is a great way to kind of get an in when you're trying to network or find joint venture partners, or you just want to reach out to someone you normally wouldn't have the guts to reach out to. Then this is another kind of great way to do that. So then pile on the miles. So what do you do once you've written these blog posts? So first of all, you can use them in your newsletter. So this is another common misconception, that your newsletter is different from your blog. Your newsletter article can be the same that is on your blog post, because people are subscribed to your newsletter to get your information. They're typically not going back to your website every time. They're not going to your website frequently, and they're not going to see the updated posts. So by sending them to their email, it's just adding convenience, and also making you not have to do more work. You can create tweets out of the blog posts and link them back to your blog. Again, this is something that we show you how to do in blog marketology, how to break your blogs into status updates. You could also do this on Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google+. Basically anywhere that you're posting content, you can be posting excerpts from your blogs or status updates. Submit them to article databases, like easyarticles.com is a very popular and has been around since the beginning of time. It's just one more place to put your article to link back to your site. Submit them to other blogs as guest posts. So going back to the networking thing, contacting other bloggers, other big name websites, and submitting your post as a guest article for them to use on their site and link back to yours. Submit them to print magazines in your niche. Same thing. Record them into podcasts or videos. Very easy to do. Post those on iTunes and YouTube. So post your podcasts on podcast publishing software, and videos on YouTube, Vimeo, whatever video sites make sense for you. Send relevant posts to prospects. This is also, so you can send relevant posts to prospects, but you can also send relevant posts to people that are emailing you with questions. So last week we talked about systemizing your business, and one of the ways to do that is to take questions that people are asking and write the answers as blog posts. And then the next time someone asks that question, you send them to that blog post. And it saves you time in the long run. Plus, again, if it's a common question that people are asking, it's going to help them help more people find you online when they're typing in that question. Compile them into a course. So if writing a course, writing the content is something that's a challenge for you, then break it down into chunks and write a blog post for each lesson. And then eventually turn that into your course. It's fine if people are seeing some of the same information in the course as they did on the blog, because chances are, 1, someone is not going to read every single blog post you have. 2, they're not going to read it in the right sequence. And 3, even if they did both of those things, they will still take the course to benefit from your expertise. It's just like you would read a book and then work with a coach that wrote the book, or you would read a book and do a course around the information in the book, even though it's the same content. It's the way you're experiencing it is different. So again, this is just an easy way for you to get content out of your head onto the page and start using it in your business. And last but not least, you can turn them into teleseminars and webinars. So if you're doing community calls like I am, like the LOBoratory, or you're doing other types of webinars, then these blog posts are a great way to repurpose that content. So for me, sometimes I write a blog post and then I make a LOBoratory call about it, or vice versa. I might do a LOBoratory call and then turn it into a bunch of blog posts. So whatever works best for you. So let's just recap. Blogging is the cheapest, easiest, and most efficient mechanism for marketing. It has a lasting effect and is easy to keep up with. Your fears may be a little lofty. You're putting the cart before the horse in letting fear hold you back from actually getting started. Planning is the key to getting started and staying consistent. So when you have a plan and you make time for this, it becomes much easier. And last but not least, you can't afford not to be blogging. I don't care how busy you are. You need to be marketing yourself. This is the easiest way to do it, even if you're doing other types of marketing like teleseminars, social media, that kind of thing. All of that content can be repurposed into a blog post so you have another medium for people to find you. So whether you are starting with the blog and then repurposing it, or starting with other content, repurposing it into a blog, either way, you need a blog. So next week I am off. I am busy working on launching the new Land of Brand website. I'm hoping to have it up by the end of March, hopefully a week sooner than that. So next week I'm actually taking off so that I can just work on the website. So it's so exciting. I can't wait to share it with you guys. It's looking fantastic. And at this point, we're just putting on final touches on the content. So I can't wait to share that with you. But then the week after, which is, what is today? Today is the 4th. So what is that? The week of the 23rd. So that must be the 25th. We're going to talk about how to sell coaching like a boss, and how to sell not just coaching, but other intangible types of services. So how do you make it tangible for your audience and make it easy to buy? So definitely join us in 2 weeks for that. And if you have any questions about today's topic or any of those other topics, or you would like help creating your awesome brand, then email holly@thelandofbrand.com and I will be happy to answer them. Also, if you have any topics that you'd like to see on a future LOBoratory call, shoot me those as well, because I'm always looking for fresh ideas, and I'd like to know how I can help you build your coaching brand online. So with that, let's go ahead and move on to questions. If you have any questions or comments or additions, please do type them in the chat. I'm just going to take a look at what's already here. Kim says, I was worried about running out of topics, but after taking the blog marketology course, it changed for me. Holly is the queen of helping you with blogging. Thank you, Kim. Very nice. Kim says, do you think every entrepreneur should blog no matter what their business is? I think that a blog is a great way for any entrepreneur to put themselves out there. I think it's especially useful if you're in the type of business where being seen as an expert is going to benefit you. So it can work a couple different ways. If you are a service provider, if you're a coach, if you're a consultant, if you're an author, you're a speaker, anytime that your expertise is in demand and that's what people are paying for, a blog is going to help. It would also help if you're a product entrepreneur, because a blog will allow you, gives you a medium to share why your product is useful, how it's going to be useful, how it's going to solve problems for your target audience. So it can either position you as an expert, or it can position your product as a solution to a problem. And the great thing about blogs is that because it's typed, and that's how search engines read information, is through text, then even whether you have a product business or a service business, the search engines are still going to love a blog. And when people are looking for answers to a problem or answers to a question they have, and they come into your blog, they come into your website through your blog, they're going to see the information you have, and then they also are going to see the other pages or the other advertisements you have on that page that they're landing on, so they can engage you further. So it's a great way to get people to the site initially, and then let your site and the strategy, your online strategy, kind of pull them in further into the conversation. So great question, Kim. Kim asks, I had asked someone what to do if you don't have any clients asking you questions, and was told answer questions clients should be asking you. Yes, absolutely. So what should clients be, rewind, start that over. What should clients be asking you that they're not? Or another thing would be, what would clients be asking you? And some other ways to kind of brainstorm that answer would be to look at forums or Facebook groups or other places that your audience is hanging out, and use those questions as a starting point for your blog. You could also turn other articles into questions. So if you look at a magazine that your target audience reads, you can turn topics that are in that magazine into questions that might make it easier for you to frame your content, or you can write about the same topic. So for instance, I'm looking at I have this little handy dandy booklet on my desk. It's called 50 Flavor Popcorns. Don't ask me why I have this. So questions that could be from this would be, what is the best popcorn to have at my next party? Some of these have alcohol in them. Is eating tequila popcorn going to make me drunk? Might be a question. So just think about the topics and that you're seeing in places that your target audience is hanging out. You can think about topics, you can think about, and then turn them into questions, or you can take questions and turn them into topics. It goes both ways. So I hope that is helpful. Great, so I don't see any other questions. I'd like to thank you all for coming. I love seeing you every week. You're all fantastic. If you are thinking about joining Blog Marketology, it is starting tomorrow, and we do have a few spots left. You can email holly@thelandofbrand.com, and I will send you a super sweet discount code because you are a part of my LOBoratory community, and you guys are pretty much my favorite people. So I'd like to offer you a sweet discount if you just shoot me an email. And I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. I will see you in 2 weeks when hopefully I will be unveiling our new website. So have a great rest of your day, and we will talk soon. Bye, everyone.